Good day everyone and welcome to my round 9 AFL fantasy wrap-up video. It was a bit of an up and down week this week for many coaches, but for me I managed to score 2087 this week, which was not a huge score, but it wasn't disastrous by any means, and as a result my ranking managed to improve a couple hundred spots, which is nothing spectacular, but at least my team is not losing any ground and it's improving ever so slightly week by week. So now I'll go back to the trades I made heading into the round, and they were Nathan O'Driscoll down to Greg Clark, a nice little downgrade there, which gave me the cash to be able to trade out Zach Butters to Tim Taranto, who hadn't been in amazing form of late, but in my eyes is still a clear top 6 forward, so I was keen to bring him in this week, and it didn't quite give me a huge return this weekend, but I reckon it will pay off in the next couple of weeks for sure, as I think Taranto's got a couple of good fixtures coming up, and hoping he can average around that 100 mark for me. So now I'll look back at my team, as always, starting in defence. Jack Crisp, 103, just continues to get it done at the moment. Jack Crisp averaging 103 for the season now, and he hasn't scored below 99 since round 3, so his consistency has been excellent. Lockie Whitfield, 46, an absolute stinker from Whitfield this week, and it's just hard to know exactly what his role is at the Giants at the moment. Maybe things might turn around for him with the caretaker coach now taking over, but he's just been super frustrating this year, and big watch on him this week before he has his bye the following week to see what we do with him there. James Sicily, 109. Absolutely love watching this man play footy, and he just doesn't put a foot wrong, and he's been one of the easiest picks we've had in fantasy so far this year. George Hewitt, 97. I was absolutely wrapped with this return from Hewitt, as I thought he may have been a bit vulnerable this week coming straight off that calf injury, but he didn't seem to miss a beat, and definitely glad that I stuck fat with him and held him for those last 2 weeks. So definitely paid off this week. Daniel Rioli, 71. He was okay, but he definitely saved his score in junk time in that last quarter in that game against the Hawks. And I wanted to trade him out last week, but I ended up keeping him over Zach Butters, which may have been the wrong call in hindsight. But there wasn't a whole lot separating the two of them at the end of the day. And Rioli is still someone who I am keen to move on when I get the chance to. Kadeem Coleman, 79. It was nice to see him play well this week, Coleman, and a 79 from him was quite handy for me this week, and hopefully he can continue to pump out a 75 to 80 each week and make some nice cash for me up until his buys. That's probably the time when I'll look to move him on, so hopefully he can keep up the good work, Coleman. Now onto the bench, Paddy McCartan, 55. He was pretty solid, and he's made some handy cash for me in the last couple of weeks, which has been nice. Sam De Koning, 47. Same goes with him, and he's starting to make a bit of cash now, which will be handy come the buys. So now onto the midfield. Andrew Brayshaw, 99. He seemed to be cruising up until half time, but he kind of struggled a bit in the second half, and which resulted in a bit of an underwhelming score overall of 99. And he did cop a heavy hit to the upper body early in the third quarter, so maybe that had something to do with it, but he's still a gun, Brayshaw, and I'm confident he'll bounce back for sure. Bailey Smith, 116, who I ended up taking his score as captain this week, and he was flying up until half-time and was definitely on track for one of those big 140 scores that we have seen him produce a couple of times this season, but he slowed down a bit in the second half, which was a little bit unfortunate. And as for taking his score as captain, I definitely toyed with the idea of rolling the dice for someone like a Neil or an Oliver, but I ended up just banking Smith's 116, which funnily enough ended up being one of my highest scores for the round anyway, so in the end it was definitely the correct decision. Ben Keys, 92. A little frustrating once again from Keys, and he was averaging around 130 before I brought him in, but has only managed to just hover around that 90 to 100 mark since he has been in my team, which has been a little bit annoying and a little bit frustrating, but He works really hard week in, week out, Keys, so I'm confident a big score is just around the corner. But yeah, I'll definitely need a big score from him, though, as yeah, he's one of my big points of difference at the moment, Keys. Clayton Oliver, 91. Probably a bit disappointing considering the matchup he had this week, but at least he wasn't disastrous, and he seemed to have a few long stints on the bench too, I noticed, so perhaps the D's took the opportunity to kind of manage his workload a bit during the game, which is probably a smart decision from their point of view, so hopefully he can go big next week under the roof against North. Lockie Neal, 115. Another great score from Neal, and yeah, you just know what you're going to get from him week in, week out, and which is what we love as fantasy coaches. And as I've mentioned before, he's just been one of the picks of the season, and he's back to that Brownlow form. Jack McRae, 123. He absolutely feasted in the junk time minutes on Friday night, and I think he had about a 45-point last quarter or something like that to save his score. And he definitely hasn't quite been in the same form as he has been in the past, but he still manages to post a decent score most weeks anyway, so that's nice. And yeah, still a solid enough option. Jack McRae continues to get the job done week by week. Tom Green, 74. Kind of the same old story with Tom Green. He had plenty of the ball again, but only 2 marks and 2 tackles, which just limits his scoring. And he's been a nice pick for me, Green, but I might have to look to move him on soon, as yeah, his contested sort of game style isn't quite conducive to fantasy scoring at this point in his career. So yeah, he's definitely one that in the next couple of weeks I'll look to move him on to a more premium type of midfielder. Greg Clark, 61. Brought him in this week, as I think most people did as well, and he wasn't too bad. He had a nice start to the game, but kind of faded out of it as the game went on. But he still has a great role, and he should have decent job security at the Eagles, so I still won't be afraid to field him in the next couple of weeks. Onto the bench, Robbie McComb, 38. He had a very poor game on Friday night, unfortunately. McComb, he made plenty of errors and turned the ball over a few times, so I think his spot in that dog side might be a bit dicey moving forward, unfortunately. Marcus Windhager, 49, came on as a sub and only played half the game, so this was an exceptional score from Windhager, and he actually played a key part in turning that game around for the Saints in that third quarter, I thought. And yeah, with Jack Steele now out for an extended period, he should have a spot in the starting 22, and yeah, he'll be very handy for me come the buys as an option to start on my field. Now onto the rucks. Max Gawn, 87. Didn't have one of his most dominant games, Big Maxi, but thankfully he still played, as he looked to be in a bit of doubt to play at the start of the week. But luckily the scans were all clear and he was fine. But yeah, I think we just take the 87 this week from Max and move on. Sam Hayes, 54. Solid enough, I guess, from Hayes. He absolutely dominates the hitouts, which ensures that he is a safe 50 to 60 each week. But yeah, he just doesn't win enough ball around the ground to turn his scores into big scores. So, but as long as my ranking improves, I'm still okay with fielding him at R2 for a little bit longer, while I try to upgrade in other areas. Now to the bench, Hugh Dixon, 40. He was a late in for the Eagles, and yeah, I was just happy that he managed to hit his break even this week, so he didn't lose any value. And yeah, who knows whether or not he holds his spot in that Eagles side. Now onto the forwards. Josh Dunkley, 113. Like Jack McRae, he definitely saved his score in that last quarter in those junk time minutes, and yeah, everyone has Dunkley, so yeah, his score doesn't affect us too much, and yeah, nice to see him do well after a disappointing week last week though. And then to Tim Taranto, who I brought in this week, 91. Would have loved to see him get the ton this week, Taranto, but I'll take 91 from him. And yeah, he'll score a lot more than Butters, who I traded it out for him many times this season. So I'm still happy with him. And as I mentioned before, he's a definite top 6 forward in my eyes and has a great matchup against the Eagles this week, which I reckon the Giants as a whole might feast on this week, which would be nice. Adam Treloar, 134. Yeah, he was the highlight of the round for me, Adam Treloar on Friday night. And yeah, I've been waiting for this type of score from him for a while, all season pretty much. And yeah, he probably played his best game for the Dogs as well in that game. He kicked 3 goals and was back to playing full-time midfield, I noticed as well. So yeah, if he continues to do that, hopefully he can start averaging that 105, even 110, because he's definitely capable of it. And yeah, his score this week definitely helped my overall score this week. So well done to Adam Treloar there. Stephen Cornelio, 49. A disappointing score for Cornelio, and yeah, he's just playing as a forward at the moment and not as a midfielder, which is just resulting in these horrific scores. And yeah, he's far from a top 6 forward at the moment, and he's definitely someone who we could all look to trade out in the next couple of weeks. He does have a favourable matchup against the Eagles this week, so I'm backing him in to bounce back. But yeah, as I said, he's basically a must trade in the next couple of weeks, you'd think. Will Brodie, 102. He had a blistering first quarter, Will Brodie. I think it was around 45 points or so in that first quarter, which yeah, set up his score of 102. And yeah, he just continues to get the job done at the moment, Brodie. And yeah, who knows, with the lack of forward depth at the moment, he might actually be a top 6 forward. So yeah, he just continues to deliver, Brodie, and hopefully he can keep it up. So then we had Jackson Mead, who I used to loop Bailey Smith 116 as captain. So in that spot we had Nick Martin, who scored 65 this week. Not an amazing score, but yeah, if he still manages to do that in his bad games, Nick Martin, I think we take that. And yeah, you'd probably prefer to have him over guys like Cornelio and Daniel Rioli, who I have in my side at the moment. So probably stays in my side for a couple of weeks yet. And then onto the bench, Corey Durden, 79. He was, awesome, Durden, and didn't expect that from him. And as a result of that score, he made a nice little prize rise this week, which was handy. And not too sure whether or not I trade him out this week or the next, but we'll wait and see what he does there. But it was just nice to see him rise in price this week. And then on to the utility position, Cooper Stevens, who I thought was a bit unlucky not to keep his spot in that starting 22 for Geelong, but as a Geelong fan myself, I have a feeling that he might make the starting 22 this week in replace of Mitch Nevitt, I think, who didn't play a great game. So I think he might take his place in the 22. So don't be surprised if he's named this week Cooper Stevens. So now I'll talk a bit about what my very early trade plans are at this stage of the week. And my trade plans will probably look a lot different to most people this week, as obviously I don't have Jack Steele, so there's plenty of different options for me to have a look at this week. Guys like Stephen Cornelio, who I could trade out to someone like a Tim English, who should be back this week. Even use a bit of DPP to bring in someone like Tom Stewart or Jaden Short, who I don't have in defence. The other options I have is to, maybe Dan Rioli up to someone like Dane Zorko. I could do something like that. Or even in the midfield, I could look to upgrade a Tom Green up to a proper midfield premium. Someone like Callum Mills, who, is just scoring 150s for fun at the moment. So he's definitely someone that I would absolutely love in my team. So that's another option I could have a look at there. That's all for today's video, guys. And just want to make a quick mention that this week I'll have a bonus video coming out, which will have a look at kind of the bye rounds and my overall approach and strategy to the bye rounds. And most people don't seem to enjoy the bye weeks from a fantasy perspective, but from my view, I absolutely love the bye rounds in fantasy, as I think they provide an awesome opportunity for those down in the rankings to make big leaps in the ranking. As if you get them right, you can definitely make 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 spots leap in the rankings. So in that video I'll definitely talk about my approach to the buys, so stay tuned for that one. But as always, thanks again for watching the video, and it'd be much appreciated if you could like, comment, subscribe. As always, I'm happy to give a second opinion on any trade plans you have, so feel free to leave a comment below. And thanks again for watching, guys.